Hey there, welcome. This week on Pod and Deliver, we have the film Chalk. This film came out in 2006, directed by Mike Ackle, starring Troy Schremer, Janelle Schremer, and Chris Mass. This film, Ruben, is obviously, I say obviously, it's a documentary, but it's a mockumentary. And it goes through a whole school year. It doesn't tell us where where the school is at. But it goes through a whole school year, and you see teachers and students interactions, also teacher and teacher interactions. And I really enjoyed it. I laughed because I knew it was silly, it was fun. And some of the situations, like for example, there's an assistant principal who doesn't want to be an assistant principal. She knows it's a lot of work, a lot of time, and she's put in to be an AP after I think she said she's taught only like 1 year, I believe, or at least a short time period. And she says, well, I have this job because the previous assistant principal, I guess he was found guilty. So now I had to, it's like, what? I mean, you didn't really go into that. You don't know what happened, but you know that she's in this position because the previous person is in jail. But that being said, that's what you see throughout the film, just funny little anecdotes where you see one of my favorite scenes, Ruben, is where a teacher and a student are going at it because of a phone. Right. Or, no, I don't think it's a phone. I think there was another disagreement. And the teacher tells the student, hey, I'm going to call your father, gets on the phone and calls. And you think he's calling. He goes, hey, and he tells the parent, hey, your son's not doing well. He's failing, so forth. And so he goes, hey, come over here. And the boy comes and he gets on the phone and no one's there. And he goes, hey, next time I'm gonna call them, right? And you're like, okay. I mean, obviously that's something you never would do, and no lesson being learned here. But that's throughout the film. You see little pieces like that, little anecdotes, and I laughed the whole time, Ruben. And I'm sorry, I really did enjoy it. How did you feel about it?
I did not have the same experience. I really did not like it at all. And you're right. It's a mockumentary, and it's following that kind of humor where you've got these, for those who haven't seen one before, Christopher Guest does them best, and they should be watched, any of his, but I don't think I laughed one time. To me, it was not funny. And I was very miserable watching the movie. And it's funny because it's not the worst film that we've seen, right?
Right. Well, the bad ones.
I was thinking about the bad films that we've seen, and I think I would rather watch Kindergarten Teacher than this, and even The Class, because at least The Class, you're kind of watching a train wreck. This will, so you watch a car wreck and you want to watch the rest and see what happens. See if you see any arms fall out and heads roll down the street. With this movie, it was just so boring. The humor was just lead. It just died on arrival. I got it. Of course I got the jokes.
But you didn't laugh.
Didn't care. It was really weird because the first 5 minutes I thought it was a documentary. I didn't know anything about this. So
because there was no laughter in the beginning. Yeah, you're right.
I was really concerned about the teachers. Like, this had a very much of an approaching the elephant feel, where you have really bad teachers in the class and they're trying to manage and you get that anxiety. And then I started realizing, this is ridiculous. This is a comedy, of course. But
I liked it though, because it seemed like there were real situations. And you know what, Ruben? Some of the times I thought, hey, those things could really happen, and we're laughing at it, but some of those seem a little real, like some of the situations with the students, hiding the chalk from the teacher. That's happened to some teachers.
You're saying there's little vignettes of scenes that are funny. Okay. They're not that little. They're not that little, some of them. So I'm going to give you a real quick example.
Please.
There's this Teacher of the Year joke where this guy's going out for Teacher of the Year. That really dragged on for a while, sir. From scene to scene, and it wasn't just one vignette. It had a shelf life. It continued a few scenes later, and the punchline to the joke, it took a long time to get to that punchline, to get to that moment, and man, it dragged. I don't know. I'm curious if I'd be curious to see if people watch this and have their opinion and hear their opinion.
I think there are a couple of things you could take away from it.
I would bet people wouldn't like this, but I don't know. You know,
I would know, Ruben. I really liked it. I was laughing hard.
I know,
sometimes.
But you like Kindergarten Teacher. You liked a lot of things.
Oh,
I'm talking about
no.
I'm talking about a normal person.
Thanks. You're a jerk. Listen, I thought they made some connections with kids. I think that was a message, like, hey, at the end they're rapping, or not rapping, but they're doing a spelling bee, right? The teachers.
The kids are props. The kids had nothing to do with this.
The kids, I think the kids didn't even know that they were just shooting a movie. I think they said, hey, we're going to come over to your school.
They were there to
definitely
to squeeze a joke out here and there.
Right.
You learn. That's probably why I liked it.
Because the kids, because they were just being themselves. Like
there was nothing to learn. There was nothing to learn from the movie at all.
Right.
Even the comedies that we've done, there's something to get. Member Teachers. There was something to learn from that one.
Ruben, but how about that scene where the history teacher is talking to the kids who are making fun of him in class, and he's like, I know that you know history more than than me, but don't let the other kids know, right? Don't make those faces. It's like, it's ridiculous.
It's weird because it's strange because I'm watching it, and I might have gotten a smile out of that scene. I might have smiled a little bit, but laugh?
I'm still laughing right now.
Yeah.
How about the last thing I want to say? How about that? But I thought it was really interesting. The last thing that was said was the assistant principal who was new, right? And you saw, I would say that it was pretty cool to see that, they have a tough job, and they show that hey, it's not an easy position. But at the end, she goes, you know what? Who's the number one? I think she said something like, the number one person in a child's life to assist them and to help them out is their parents. And not 10 times, like 100 times. And I think that was the message here is like, teachers, they're just messed up people. It's just like anybody else. Don't have them be your kid's parent. The parents need to be the parent. And I think sometimes we see that, Ruben, in social media, where we see these teachers come out and they're a lot more power than they should.
Do you think that's a deep insight?
No, but I think today that's being discussed a little bit more. You see these town hall meetings with parents speaking up and saying, hey, we're not really happy with where the teachers, how they're sharing their own personal political opinions and social. And then you see now we're saying, you know what, hey, let's get back to it. And she's saying, you know what, we're not that person. You guys, the parents are. And we want you to see what we're all about. We're just normal human beings who actually have a lot of issues. Okay. And so I think that's fair. I think teachers aren't perfect, and we're not here to parent the children.
I think you're kind of, I was just so miserable watching the film that I don't really analyze too much of it. But I think that's fair. Maybe you're accidentally pointing out a big problem of the film. And that is when you have a movie where there are so many buffoons, you should probably have one strong teacher, which they didn't. They were all idiots. And to me, well, can you have some kind of standard that we could rise to? And it just served to make teachers look like fools. Okay.
That's a fair critique.
So like I said,
I think the AP might have been the closest to that, but besides that, though, I think you're right. You needed a teacher to be the straight man, right? So, but anyway,
not just the straight man, but to have some kind of standard to aspire to. Remember teachers where everybody was the fool, except you had a Nick Nolte character. Who it just, if you have everybody being a bad teacher, there's no context, there's no, you know what I mean? There's nothing to compare it to. You're just in this morass of foolishness. But you had Nick Nolte and you had Richard Mulligan, where you had two pretty good teachers, one very good teacher. And then you could see the differences and you see a high standard. But here they're all goofs. They're all dumb.
Pretty much. But it's fun if you want to just sit back and just laugh and just not really take things seriously, I'm going to go ahead and Ruben didn't like the film. He didn't enjoy it. I did. I would love to hear what you guys had to say. Thank you for joining us this week on Pod and Deliver. And you know what? We'll catch you next week. Okay. Bye-bye.